another project day. I recently saw Birds of Prey, and since we're still getting to know each other, I am a big DC fan. I read DC comics all the time. I watched all the movies. Superman is my favorite. Oh, God, Henry Cavill, so cute. And so I watched Birds of Prey and I loved it. I love Margot Robbie. I love her portrayal of Harley Quinn. I think she's absolutely perfect for the role, and she has the voice down, like very similar to the comic book character. I love the movie, don't get me wrong, but I really wanted to see Harley Quinn in her red and black jumpsuit or something similar, red and black. I thought I would kind of create that red and black look but in a vintage way. I thought of this idea and then I got even more super inspired to actually go for it and try it out when I saw an Instagram post. I follow a lot of vintage dealers, and this one was by Timeless Vixen, I believe. I'll put it up on the screen. And I thought it was absolutely perfect. It had that nice vintage feel that I was looking for. The dress that she posted is actually a 1970s dress, and it had like the red and black color matching, which I really wanted to incorporate. So my idea was to have like a 1940s style, and using that red and black color combo, which I've never tried before, so I thought it'd be really fun to do. And what I used is this, hold on, I used this vintage pattern. It's Advance 4715 if you ever find it. It was actually given to me by a lovely photographer of mine. Her name is Yolanda, and she said that she had all these old patterns and that she was so nice enough to give to me. I thought I'd give it a try. I really wanted to incorporate the hood, but I ran out of fabric. I didn't want to just buy like, you know, what, a half a yard of fabric just for the hood. I didn't want it to be wasteful. So in making this, I think I'll make some kind of red and black turban or some kind of hair accessory to go with the dress. Only thing that I modified on this was I'm not much of a fan of high neck necklines, so I added a V-neck. So I wanted to have like a deep V. And yeah, so I was really excited. Then having the inspiration from the vintage dress and then the pattern, I feel like all the stars lined up and I had to make this creation. So if you'd like to continue watching, please like and subscribe. It means so much to me. I'll show you guys the process and how it turned out. Let's get started.
Okay, to get started, I did have a bit of a modification. I noticed on the pattern it had one panel for the back, and I needed two so I could have two colors. So what I did, instead of cutting the fabric on the fold, I placed the pattern directly on the fabric and I cut two pieces so I could have one black and one red. And then I just added darts at the bottom so it'd be nipped at the waist. Here is the front panel. This is where the buttons would go, so I folded the pattern and cut out a seam allowance, and this would allow me to have the V-neck. And so here it is. I added the two pieces and added darts in the bottom. It was a bit short-waisted. If I do this again, I will probably add more fabric to the length. And I hand stitched the seam down in the front. I like to hand stitch it instead of running it through the machine because it looks more of like an invisible stitch. Once I had the back and bodice complete, I matched up the middle seam. Sorry if it's a little shaky, I was doing this with one arm trying to film. Once I had it matched perfectly, I noticed that I had a lot of excess fabric, so I trimmed off the excess. And I don't have a dress form, so I have to try it on. And once I tried it on, I noticed that I had still had a lot of seam allowance. So I just trimmed it, and that's what it looked like when it fit me perfectly. Off camera, I fixed the skirt, and this is where I noticed I had two big problems. One, I tried to add a black band, which it wasn't working, it kept rippling. And the skirt, I completely mixed up the colors. The red is supposed to be where the black is, just like in the vintage photo. Ugh, I personally think my dog Peepers had something to do with it. She had to be right next to me, so I put a blanket over her. I had to use a seam ripper to rip the skirt apart and fix the color combos, and this is what it looked like when I finally fixed it. God, it took forever, but it was worth it. Then I pinned the skirt and bodice together, and I forgot to film the whole part about doing the sleeves. I promise I'll get better at filming. It's quite difficult to film each process. Even though I don't have a proper dress form, I can't stick pins in this. It was really helpful to connect the skirt and bodice together since it was stretchy fabric. It wasn't overstretched when I had it on the form, and it was a lot easier. So if you do have one, you could still use it, and just be really careful not to pin yourself. Next, I took apart the back bodice, and this is where the zipper would go. This is a lot easier because I already ironed the seams flat, so the zipper would be in place perfectly. Lastly, I pressed the seams, put in the zipper, and hemmed the dress. My failed attempt of trying to iron while filming wasn't working. And if that wasn't exciting enough, now it's time for the makeup. Showing off my non-vintage sweater, it was really cold and I didn't feel like changing. It's okay to break the rules sometimes. I use this Sauce Box makeup palette. I think I got it as a gift and it just sat in my drawer for years. And come to my surprise, I was really excited because it was a perfect blue that I needed. I want it to look like similar to the modern Harley Quinn, but with a vintage twist. So I thought I would add the blue and red eyeshadow to give it just that hint of modernness. Yep, modernness. Next, I used this ColourPop makeup palette and used the only red that they had available. I don't know about you guys, but I tend to use makeup until I run out. So this is what I had, so I'm working with it. I did something a little daring. Well, for me it is. I didn't like the ColourPop red. It wasn't red enough for me, so I thought I would add red lipstick where my crease is to give it that extra contrast. And I think it turned out great. I would just recommend blending slowly. That helped a lot. I was very scared doing this, so I hoped I didn't have to start all over. I added a red eyeliner to the bottom, and then I did the same thing with the blue. That's pretty much it for the makeup. What I was extra scared about was to recreate that heart on her cheek. It turned out great, but it was a little small than what I wanted, but I was too afraid to go back and try again and ruin it all. So in all, I think it turned out pretty good. I will put a link in the description how to do this exact hairstyle, but other than that, this look is complete. Time to get out of the sweater.